And now from McAllen City Hall, a meeting of the McAllen City Commission.
And good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's City Commission meeting. We'll call this meeting to order. We have the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by invocation by Commissioner Pepe Cabeza de Vaca. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bow your heads. Father, we thank you for the opportunity to gather this today. May everything we do begin with inspiration and continue with your help. We ask your guidance throughout this meeting, that all of our thoughts and actions will relate to your holy will, and that you will grant us grace to love you and our neighbors more perfectly. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
And we have one proclamation, National Parks and Recreation Month. Commissioner Castillo.
Hey, Webb. Again.
The City of McAllen Proclamation. State of Texas, County of Hidalgo, City of McAllen. Whereas, since 1985, America has celebrated July as the nation's official Parks and Recreation Month. And whereas, Parks and Recreation Month is a great opportunity to demonstrate the valuable benefits of local parks and recreation. And whereas, local parks and recreation will celebrate all the ways they help their communities great through conversation, health and wellness, and social equity. They not only beautify neighborhoods, but also promote opportunities for a healthier, smarter, more effective, more resilient people. And whereas, the McAllen City Commission encourages citizens to visit all 91 McAllen parks and any of the recreation facilities, pools, centers, or sports fields. Now, therefore, I, Rodolfo Rudy Castillo, City Commissioner of the City of McAllen, Texas, by the virtue of authority vested in me, and on behalf of the Mayor and the City Commission, do hereby proclaim the month of July as National Parks and Recreation Month. In witness whereof, I have unto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of McAllen to be affixed on this 26th day of June 2023.
Thank you, Commissioner, Mayor, elected officials, City Manager. Good evening. Since 1985, people in the United States have celebrated Park and Recreation Month to promote building strong, vibrant, and resilient communities through the power of parks and recreation, and to recognize more than 160,000 full-time park and recreation professionals, along with hundreds of thousands of part-time and seasonal workers and volunteers that maintain our country's local, state, and community parks. I would like to take this time to thank my entire staff, and I got some of them right behind me, for the hard work and dedication that you guys put forward into making, the City of McAllen one of the great places to live, not only for the community, but for our Parks and Recreation Department. You guys definitely make a difference in our community. At the Parks and Recreation Department, we take pride in providing services to the community that facilitate and encourage play through our amenities, parks, programs, and special events. Again, we want to thank our mayor, elected officials, and city manager for their continuous support for a better quality of life for our residents. Thank you.
Okay, we have item number 1, public hearing.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. We have a couple of items that are listed on your routine as part of the agenda. We have a rezoning for a property at 4101 Idella Avenue. It's to rezone from I-1 to I-2. That comes with a favorable recommendation from PNC. The second request is for a conditional use permit for 1 year for a bar located at 4800 North 10th Street. This was disapproved but comes with a favorable recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Okay, anybody here to speak against any of the items? If not, do I hear a motion from the commission?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Item B.
Item B1 is a request to rezone property at 417, 409, and 401 East Yuma Avenue from R1 to R3T Townhouse for a proposed townhouse development. A property is 3.5 acres in size approximately. It's located on the north side of Yuma Avenue, East Yuma Avenue, and west of McCall. Surrounding zoning is R1, and you do have some commercial zoning also in the area. Current uses exist in the area include single-family residences, the Alfredo Gonzalez Texas State Veterans Home, storage units. You do have mixed commercial and single-family residences as the trend for this area. We do have some townhouse developments and apartment developments east of McCall Road. The request does not conform with the future land use designated in Foresight, which is suburban commercial, comparable to C1, C2, and C3L zones. However, the R3T zone district requested is a lesser zone than the commercial classifications. Staff did not receive any calls in opposition prior to the Planning and Zoning Commission. At the meeting of June 6, 2023, there was no opposition present, and the applicant was present. Following discussion, the board voted unanimously to recommend approval of the rezoning request with 5 members present and voting. After the meeting of PNC, we did receive a call from a neighbor in opposition to the request with concerns with noise to the veterans home and also that the area should remain R1.
Okay, anybody here to speak against the item? Yes, sir.
Well, thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about this. And about approximately 15 years ago, my name is Elio J. Botello. I live in 2501 South Cynthia Street. And
my name is Elio M. Botello, and I live at 120 Southeast Augusta Square, right next door to this item.
we are coming here to oppose to the rezoning of this multifamily because a long time ago, approximately 15 years ago, when Texas Veteran Home was going to be built in this location, all the neighbors agreed to keep around this the Texas Veteran Home and the zoned as R1. And so that was okay. So even the Texas Veteran Home left a buffer of 125 feet to the Yuma Street. Now, with this, I was not in town when June 6th of planning and zoning, but I got the notice, and then I come here to post because it's not fair that the veterans and that are there, living and receiving medical services there in that area are going to be surrounded in two sides by the multifamily. And they are not able to come here and oppose, but it's in your hands that you can be fair with these guys that were in the war veterans, and we at the same time I'm a neighbor, and so we will to prefer to keep this as R1. So it's in your hands, I think, to keep this as R1 because it's already built the neighborhood, this subdivision, and they are going to change it to multifamily.
Like I said, my name is Elio M. Botello. I live nearby, and I just wanted to reiterate the fact that I know there was never anything in writing, but When the issue of the veterans' home came up before a panel similar to this in the past, it was an unspoken agreement that all the neighbors agreed to not oppose in any way, because the unspoken agreement was that it would remain a single family in that area for the foreseeable future. We understand that things eventually change, progress creeps up on all of us, but the veterans' home there, I think, deserves a little bit of peace and quiet. There has been more and more encroachment of other louder businesses and zoning residences, and the street there, not only is it becoming an issue where there's a choke point of traffic because there's a very, very, very small bridge that crosses a canal there, having multifamily rather than single family zoning there is going to exasperate the issue of that small bridge, in which there's constantly traffic and accident issues there. And well, we believe single family would be better for the area.
I guess the question is, do you all live by there, or you all speak on behalf of the veterans, or?
I live in front in the corner, and I got a notice in my home because of that. And Elio Jr. also lives in the Country Club Terrace, that is the neighbor with the veterans home, yes.
Yeah, so it's to answer your question, it's both. I live in the home on the corner. My neighbor is the veterans' home.
Anybody else? Questions, comments?
Question to staff. So, how many townhomes are proposed?
We haven't had yet an actual formal submittal of a subdivision plat. There was an initial site plan. Showed about 28 townhomes proposed.
28 townhomes?
Right, and that still hasn't been reviewed by staff, as a formal submittal hasn't been
Now,
part of it.
potentially in that land, how many single families can you do?
Usually on gross acreage, you have about 8 houses per acre. You've got 3.5 acres, you've got about 25, 30 homes that could be built there. Density for
So it'd
townhouse,
be pretty much the same density?
it kind of doubles. For townhouse, it's usually like 20 per acre that you could propose on a gross acreage. That's before you start accounting for the development of the property, accounting for streets and dedications that will reduce the acreage. So your net acres will end up being what your final density would be.
So potentially it's 25 single homes that can be done,
No.
and these people is proposing 28.
28
No.
is on the initial plan, yes.
No,
They
it's
initially-
it's only 2 acres, isn't it?
It's 3.5.
3.5 acres?
Yes,
Well, times 4.
correct.
Okay, so you've got 15 homes, residential.
Yeah, but these are R3T, no?
But they're trying to go R3T. So R3T, which would be townhomes only, not apartments. It'd be
Correct.
townhomes.
It's proposed for townhouse
Individual
development.
townhomes, yes.
Correct, yes, sir.
Yeah. And they'll get around 7, right, around per,
Per acre,
Per
so
acre.
you're looking, yes. Your initial plan was 28, but
so that's what they're saying, 28.
28, no, I know, 28 and potentially 25
Potential
single
25.
families. So the density
No,
is
no,
pretty
no,
much,
no.
yes.
Potential, no.
well, the density would be 20 units, 20 townhouses per acre. So if you got 3 acres, you're looking at 60 units, 65 units. Potentially, it could be townhouse development on 3.5 acres.
Unless, they're proposing 28, right?
The initial-
Unless there's a PUD that we can control,
Correct.
that they cannot do more than what they
Correct.
propose.
If there was a plan unit development, there would be conditions that could stipulate the number of units and the layouts and so on. Yes, sir.
Being the same, more or less the same density, in a way. Would you be okay with a PUD where they cannot do more than the proposed 28? Because the density is going to be pretty much the same, Mr. Botello.
I think it's already so divided, and there are only 4 lots there.
He said that the what is currently there is four lots, and what's being proposed would increase that to a much
Oh, but
higher
that can be
concentration.
subdivided any time in a different way.
Well, we would be opposed to anything other than R1. I suppose the concentration on Yuma is already, all the neighbors that I've spoken to agree that Yuma is not a very, it's not a street that's prepared for more commercial traffic or higher concentration of living spaces there.
And I understand. What I'm trying to figure it out and say is that potentially can be 25 homes over there, R1s, without doing anything but a subdivision change. Subdivided and have 25 lots to do 25 houses. The other way, let me finish real quick. The other way, they're proposing 28 townhomes, which can be controlled by a PUD. So at the end of the day, the density is going to be the same, exactly, and the traffic is going to be exactly the same way. Would you rather maybe table these items so we can discuss and you can discuss it so you can probably.
Yes, I think
balance
so.
it?
We can talk this with planning and zoning in the future, yes.
This is a zoning, though.
Yeah, this is a rezoning.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's a zoning that it can go both ways, and it can potentially have same kind of densities, and probably both parties can get to an agreement with that it can be good. ¿Se me explico?
Yeah, I'm just saying, I don't know that we can get involved in the eventual
No, we're not.
number
but
of units or
no, but
whatnot.
them and I think it's the Brady's that want to do the other one. The other part can talk and get to an agreement where both parties are okay, and we can and potentially can be a lot of townhomes, but with a PUD we can control how many are going to go there. That's what I'm trying for them to talk.
So, planning approved.
No, they'll be pretty much with developers.
Who wants to talk back there?
Yeah, go ahead, ma'am. Public hearing.
I'm the developer for this project.
Oh, yeah.
Please come forward.
And I'd like to discuss it before we problem solve it a little further. And I may have some more answers, if that's okay.
So are you asking, are you in agreement that it'd be tabled to discuss it over there or over here with us?
I would like to move forward with.
Oh,
more
please
information.
go ahead.
I apologize for waving in the background. My name
It's
is
a public hearing.
Sorry. My name is Catherine Ziegler. I'm the developer of that area. The area is all originally owned by the Meyerhoff Family Trust, and this is some of the remaining land that they have from a farm that they started back in the 30s and 40s in that area, and I believe we originally sold Mr. Boteo his property as well. The property, the Meyerhoff Family Trust partnered with the city to put in the Veterans Nursing Home about 15 or 16 years ago. And we did it as a public-private partnership. That was the area the city chose. They are very quiet. We did talk to them in advance before we started with our R1. We originally have had much greater density zoning and commercial zoning that would go back to the buffer of the Veterans Nursing Home. And with respect to considering residential versus commercial, not just density of residential. We moved it back. We partnered with a strip of land that adjoined it so we could actually have some use for the two strips of property. We went through and we cleaned out a very overgrown area, retained as many trees as possible. We've put in a full screen fence with the 8 feet on the commercial side and 6 feet surrounding that area. When we discussed this with the Veterans Nursing Home, they had no issue with that change into residential versus commercial backing up to them, such as medical office buildings that could have gone there. So we did that. We decided to do residential, and we wanted to keep as much openness as we could. And as you all will recall, over the last several years, our detention changes have been significantly expanded from what was done 15 years ago even. And as a result, we may have that much land area of 3.5 acres, but we have a tremendous amount of detention area that goes within that. So in fact, there's not 28 that's possible. It's a matter of, we wanted to have something put together. I did this, worked with the architect on the buyer's behalf, and I've worked with them before. And essentially, we've limited the amount of area that can be utilized. But because it's townhome, we wanted to demonstrate something that would reflect the green space that's needed for detention, a park area, some additional parking, and it's not a finished design, but it's great to talk about something, but a picture's worth 1,000 words. So we put something forward and submitted it as part of the application, which I filled out and did for this zoning change. But one of the things that I'm trying to get across is that we're not going to, and I know this from the owners in the discussions, we're talking about green space and remainder of trees that have been there. I mean, we've respected the land for the last 70 or 80 years that the family's owned it. With respect to Yuma and its situation at the time that we started with a residential, an R1 type development that we requested, and we downzoned from commercial to R1 to respect the neighborhood. And we owned and sold everything else around there. So the Meyer Hall Family Trust partnered with the city. We put in Yuma, we put in the drainage systems, and we set up that area so it became a connector. Yes, the canal crossing 2nd Street is a problem, but at the time that we went ahead and activated the last piece of frontage along Yuma, we worked with the city and the planning department and future development, and we requested the lights at Yuma and McCall and the light at Yuma and 2nd Street. Unfortunately, because you have another partner on the bridge area crossing the canal, that's not something that can be easily remedied by an independent. However, we also, the original proposal was for 45-mile-an-hour speed limit on Yuma, and we requested that it remain at 30 miles per hour because, again, we're trying to find the best balance between neighborhood, connecting into a commercial area with higher speeds. So we have done what we can in terms of recognizing the residential to the west and the higher density and commercial uses to the east. So that is why we did that. And again, the PUD is a great idea. I have been working on this now. This is my 3rd year on this development piece here alone. And we've been very careful and respectful of what can be done there. There is not a formal proposal on what is going to go in there. That is part of beyond a zoning decision. And we're not trying to plan it and zone it at the same time. But I do know that there are more limitations than what even a sample drawing will demonstrate at 28. And I would imagine that we'll end up at about 22. I also did an analysis for garden homes to maintain it in the R1, and it is possible to put 20 garden homes in. So we're talking 3 to 4, but we have a tremendous area of green space at the front, and it's set back from the street. We put 20 feet in front of the fence line, which is actually part of the property for the detention, and now there will be additional detention behind it. So I don't see there's a disturbance. There has not been any problem from the Veterans Nursing Home. They have not expressed any issues with it. I did not want to go back to commercial. I have had 31 contacts for apartment buildings, and we declined all apartments in any density. So that's kind of where we stand with it. And my preference is not to table it at this point in time because we have spent so much time and so much energy coming up with something that was acceptable. And we're not putting in apartments, and we're not putting in super high density. And again, we don't have the room to put in that many townhomes. And there is green space in the front and the back with those townhomes. That's been discussed. So thank you for giving me the time to discuss it more thoroughly. I appreciate it. Any questions?
Gentlemen, any questions, comments?
Go ahead, well, we're talking about zoning, and if this is only a drawing and there's not exactly a compromise on how the things can work and have pretty much the same density that I was proposing, I cannot support it because there's nothing that is going to tell us how the things are going to go. And that's pretty much the way it is. I mean, you can try to do apartments, but it's
No.
up to us. Well, just say it.
Yes, sir.
I had offers to do apartments, but we denied them. It's a zoning issue again, you know? It's-
But townhome is not apartments.
I understand. The thing is that what I was seeing, it was like pretty much 28 townhomes,
Yeah.
and I compared to pretty much how many homes can be there in the same
Yes.
density, but there's no PUD in place. You say like, well, this can change, and that can change to 60 townhomes for all I know. So I cannot support something like that. I'll support something that is pretty much leveled, but not like that.
Okay, so you have a motion, right?
If I may.
Did you have
Let her speak in a minute.
If I may, it's zoning, the control of what it's going to
Yeah.
use and utilizes in a different, that's planning, that's the P and Z
Yeah,
department,
we
that's not,
understand
the design and the layout
I think we're
has
nothing
to do with the zoning.
We walk a fine line when we consider future projects, when making rezoning determinations. We're here solely to determine rezoning, so if you want to make a motion to deny the rezoning, you can.
Right, but at the same time, Mr. Haddad, we can adopt certain zonings if we can control the densities of what is proposed, so it's leveled and both parties are fine. That's exactly what the PUD do.
Councilor?
Yeah, Mayor, to address that point, there are two different conversations. So zoning is an unconditional decision by the body, what zone it intends to impose on a particular tract of property. As part of the planning process, you could consider other planning control mechanisms to control what winds up on the property. But at the time of the zoning question, the question is the zoning.
Yes, that's what I'm.
Yes, certainly.
We just feel that if the zoning from R1 to R3 is accepted, it could open the floodgates to a much, much higher density that Yuma simply does not have the capacity for anymore. It choke points onto a one-way going, one-way leaving extra small bridge that goes over the canal that already has an overwhelming amount of congestion on a daily basis, especially at peak hours, morning and afternoon. And so opening the floodgate with a rezoning, I feel, would be a grave mistake.
Maybe, Ed, I guess planning might be able to answer. But is this not probably the last developable track on Yuma between Second and McCall?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, I'm not the.
I mean, I can see, I fear there's another small parcel in front of, on the other side of the veterans home? Or is that one?
No, that's it.
The Veterans Home property goes all the way to Yuma.
Oh, it goes all the way to Yuma?
Yes.
So it's just okay. So this is the last remaining track on Yuma between Second and McCall?
So regardless, even if it gets developed single residence, it's the number was what?
If it's
15
single
or
family,
so.
based on the
15.
acreage, 3.5 acres, say, you're looking at about 30 houses.
About 30 houses.
Right, for townhouse, it'd be 70 houses. based
Could
on
be,
what-
but depends on what they would do.
Correct.
And that would be later on, Councilor?
Yes, Mayor.
That'll be later on, like when? The widow control is from the zoning.
The question of zoning is what zone do you want to apply to the property? If they come back and that would be part of a separate process.
Well, the zoning that they're requesting is R3T, which is townhomes.
Yes.
So that's what it would be. It cannot, it won't be
It can't be multifamily.
It can't be multifamily, it's R3T for townhomes.
That's what they requested.
And they can build up to 70 townhomes. They can,
Yeah,
potentially.
usually it's 20 townhomes per acre.
Or 60, let's say
Right.
double. That's what I'm trying to.
But that's before you account for all the dedications, which is obviously going to reduce the density. We don't have a plat yet, so we haven't come up with those numbers yet. But their initial site plan submitted with the rezoning had 28 townhomes lots.
And detention,
With detention, yes.
yeah, with a lot more detention.
But no matter what, we're going to have something. And based on what we're looking at, they're about the same number of townhomes, or we're very close. But
Yeah,
not,
that's the idea,
but not
to try
apartments.
to balance pretty much the density. Because I think that's what the Botellos are trying to, Correct. It's just the density.
I'll make a motion to approve the rezoning as the R3T. Sorry, don't mean to interrupt.
I would second.
There being a first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Against?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, if I could
Next item.
remind the public that there is a 3-minute limit on presentations to the commission absent questions back during the public hearing.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Just remind us, because we get into it sometimes. Next item.
The next item is a rezoning request for R1 to R3A. It's a 1-acre tract of land located at the northwest corner of Houston and 8th Street. This property is currently zoned R1, and you do have R1 in the surrounding areas, together with apartment zoning to the south and C1 to the west. Property has been zoned R1 since 1979. There was a request to change the zone to commercial C3 back in 2011. That was disapproved due to concerns with traffic and surrounding residential areas. You do currently have the property vacant, and you have a rehab center to the west, Travis Middle School on the east side, some apartments to the south, and single-family residential zoning and use. The request does not comply with the comprehensive plan for the future land use, which designated as auto urban single-family, comparable to R1 zoning. The proposed development would have access from South 8th Street, which may cause traffic issues due to the existing street width and middle school that's existing. Access to Houston would need to be reviewed by the traffic department to make sure it complies with access management requirements. Staff has not received any opposition calls or emails to the request. It was considered June 6, 2023 by the Planning and Zoning Commission. There was no opposition present. The board did have questions for the applicant, however, they were not present at the meeting. Following discussion, the board unanimously voted to disapprove the rezoning request with 5 members present and voting.
Okay, anybody here to speak against or for or against the item?
Mayor, Commissioners, good afternoon. My name is Mario Salinas for the records, 3911 North 10th Street, Suite H. Yeah, we were a little bit late on the last meeting on the planning and zoning, but we're proposing the zoning on this one. We got the Ms. Sandoval as well over here with us. In case if you have, we got some handy, we can hand out some stuff over here so you can guys have it exactly what we have on this on the area. I guess you guys have seen it already, but
Thank you.
the area that we're looking into is R1. We got to the east, we got in the school. To the north, we are working right now with a project which is a fourplex. To the east, to the west, is a nursing home, correct? Just south of the project we're proposing is an R3A, and cutty corner to the south is a commercial area. So if you've seen it right now on the handouts that we present to you, just go and take a look at the third sheet. It shows from inside the lot looking south. See the multifamily or the apartments on the side or to the left, and to the right is a commercial. Go to number 4. Again, the same picture from inside the lot, looking into the apartment complex. To the east, remember we mentioned about the school? There's a school right there, and we're just looking into the rear of the school only on 8th Street. The same picture looking into the school, the rear on 8th Street. And what we're looking into, or what the owner is asking us, is probably they're going to be doing, in case we get approved, there will be something kind of designed like the one that we got on over here on this project. Last one. And the last one is the location that we're talking about on 3D view.
Do you have the basis as to the denial? It seems like there's apartments, a school.
Yeah, I have the same question.
Yeah, go ahead. Please, sorry.
Some of the basis for the request for disapproval was the fact that you have a street that's 30-foot wide with the traffic that's existing. There are issues with access from Houston because of its proximity with the offset of 8th Street on the north side with the existing to the south. So the traffic will be entering in and out of 8th Street, which is where a lot of the traffic happens because of the school that's existing there, and the paving of the roadway is approximately 30 feet. So that was some of the basis for the disapproval from staff.
But generally, the traffic will be in the morning, done by 8?
It's in the morning, and then you have it in the afternoon again as to pick up with the buses and so on.
And you have Houston, which is a large street.
Houston is, it's approximately also a 30-footer. You do have some offsets with 8th Street that's there. And the spacing requirement that traffic would have, there could be an issue, so that would have to be reviewed if they propose access from Houston Avenue.
And right now, their access is across the street from Travis.
Correct.
That road.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
There is an existing driveway on Houston Street. It's near the corner of 8th and Houston.
Yeah, that's what I recall too. Are you going to use that?
On one of our plans, yes. And as far as the rezoning, we're very flexible on what we actually put on the property, how many units is going to be determined by parking spaces, absolutely, and setbacks and retention. So,
yeah.
That was one of the issues I look at is, if we can get kids closer to a school, which is, you look at our population in schools is dwindling. I mean, I think that's important, something to look at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's important.
Our schools are complaining about dwindling population.
Yep.
Who goes to these? If it's a middle school, usually it's going to be, of course, the younger kids. And we're talking about apartment units and that type of stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
Fields is nearby too. Fields is right there.
Yeah, Fields is close by too. Yeah.
I would say, given there was no opposition and having more density near the schools, more walkability, I think questions of access will be determined during planning. I would make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, well, hold on a second. Anybody else speak for or against the issue? No? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you. Next item.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
Mario Lucina.
That's fine.
Okay, the next request is for R1, to rezone from R1 to R3A, a property at 9228 North Bicentennial Boulevard. Mayor and Commissioner, we did receive a request earlier this afternoon that the item be tabled, as the applicant would not be
Motion
able
to table.
so move.
All
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Item 4.
Item 4 is a tabled item. It's my understanding that the applicant would be here and would like to be considered. However, I have not seen him at this point.
Hey,
He's
Mayor,
here.
real quick,
So
just on
we
the
can-
item before, I have to abstain from it even though tabled.
Okay, item number 4.
Motion to remove from the
From the
table.
table, yes.
Second.
All in favor? Against? Motion carries off the table.
Okay, this is a request to rezone from C3L to I1, a 2-acre tract of land located on Ware Road, south of Buddy Owens. The proposed use is for a battery storage facility. The surrounding zoning is C3L. You do have some apartment zoning to the south. The uses existing in the area include vacant property, commercial, storage units, the Boys and Girls Club, single family, as well as soccer fields that are around the De Leon Middle School. The request does not conform to the designated land use in Foresight Comprehensive Plan, which designates this area to auto urban commercial, comparable to C3, and nor does it conform with the trend in the area, which is commercial and apartment zoning to the south. Staff did receive a letter in opposition to the request with concerns regarding potential issues with health hazards and environmental issues, as well as noise and light pollution that's associated with potential industrial uses of the property. Item was considered at the May 16th, 2023 Plan and Zoning Commission. There was no opposition, and the applicant was present and explained his proposed project and site location. Following discussion, the board voted unanimously to recommend approval of the rezoning request with 5 members present and voting.
Mayor Pro Tem.
All right, is there anybody in favor or against this proposal? All right. If you could step forward, please, and state your name and address.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Brian Yarbrough. I'm Head of Development for Stella Energy Solutions. That's the developer of this proposed project. Address at 4420 Ware Road. Is the coming to support the project and answer any questions that you might have concerning the project, its application. I understand there are other developments of battery energy storage in the city of McAllen, but just wanted to offer my time if there were any questions about this specific development.
No, I fully understand.
You're a well-informed group.
I think, just a quick question on that end.
Sure.
It being in close proximity to the Boys and Girls Club, there's some, I guess, some concern there that these batteries could overheat.
Sure.
There's some safety concerns that I've heard.
Sure.
Can you address those?
Sure. Certainly get this question a lot. The batteries have built-in fire suppression systems in them. We work and have had projects approved by many of the, or all of the fire marshals in cities and counties where we've worked. In regards to what you may have seen in the news regarding energy storage and fires, just a basic chemistry lesson, the NMC, the nickel, magnesium, cobalt chemistry that early battery systems adopted was also used in the little hoverboard things that caught on fire. That is different than the lithium ion phosphate chemistry that's used in these batteries, which has had no instances of fire to date.
Okay.
So these are tested to specific fire regulations, NFPA 855 and others to prevent any incident of fire.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone here to speak against this item? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second to approve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Conditional use permits, C1.
Okay, this is a request for a conditional use permit for life of the use for a proposed guest house at 700 Laurel Avenue, north side of Laurel, west of 6th Street. Property and uses are R1 in all directions. The applicant is proposing to demolish an existing accessory building that's located at the rear of the property in order to construct a two-story, 1,200 square foot guest house. The existing residence of 1,600 square feet that's in the front of the property will remain on site. The guest area to the building would be on the second floor. The garage would be in the first floor, and the owner proposes to use the garage to store his classic vehicles. There's an existing driveway at the rear of the property which will be repaved for access to the garage area. The request must comply with Section 138-118 of the zoning ordinance, which indicates that no separate garage or driveway should be proposed as part of the proposed guest house. The applicant is proposing to separate the garage, a separate garage entrance, and a separate garage for part of as part of the guest house development. Staff has not received any calls in opposition to the request. The request was considered at the June 6th P&C meeting. Applicant was present. There was no opposition. Following discussion, the board voted to disapprove the request, but with a favorable recommendation with 6 members present and voting.
Do you have anybody to speak against the item? Counselor, was there new legislation regarding this issue? I think there might be some stuff.
There might be, Mayor. I'm not aware that it affects this item specifically, but if I have to look at that, I will.
We need to take a look at. I think we're okay regardless. But okay, anybody else for or against? If not, what are the wishes of the commission?
Okay, so they're going to remove the dwelling that exists right now, which is an older. I was seeing it.
Correct.
I went and looked at it, and I was wondering where are they putting it. So they're going to remove that older dwelling there, and now they're going to put this, I
The
guess.
guest house.
The guest house.
That's correct. The back
Okay.
building, the
And
accessory building,
they're gonna make them the setbacks so that they won't be building,
they will comply with that. The one
Comply
thing
with
they
that.
don't is the secondary access and garage.
and there was no opposition by the neighbors or anything.
No, sir.
And we did post it there.
Yes, sir.
Make a motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Next item.
D is amending the zoning ordinance.
Okay, do I hear a motion to amend the
So
zoning
moved.
ordinance?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Item E.
E is a public hearing, Mayor, for the 23-27 consolidated plan and strategy for CDBG home and ESG.
It's a public hearing is open. Anybody? How are you doing?
Hello, how are you doing?
Los jaladores.
Yes. Okay. Good afternoon, Mayor and City Commissioners. My name is Erica Perez, and I'm the Chair of the Community Development Advisory Council. With me are several members of this board. The agenda item before you requests a public hearing regarding draft of the fiscal year 2023 through 2025 5-year consolidated plan and strategy. This document outlines the priorities, goals, and objectives that will guide the use of HUD funding over the next cycle. The document also contains the fiscal year 2023 to 2024 1-year action plan that delineates the recommendations of the Community Development Advisory Board for the use of Community Development Block Grant, Home Investment Partnership Program, and Emergency Solution Grant funds. As you may be aware, under HUD regulations, construction, public services, and administration are eligible activities. This year, the community was presented with 37 applications, totaling nearly $5.9 million, with only $2.5 million to award. Of these applications, we received $4.8 million in requests for construction and housing projects, with $1.1 million to award. In addition, they received $310,000 in requests for social service projects, with only $260,000 available. For the home program, there was $634,001 to award for new home ownership opportunities, while with the Emergency Solutions Grant funds that benefits homeless programs, there was an award of $146,947. In an effort to provide you with our best recommendation, we held several public meetings, participated in city and county-wide consultations, and interviewed agencies and department staff. We also took into consideration any recaptured funds, reports submitted, and the number of clients who would benefit and type of activity. As the CD board, we would like to thank Mayor and the Commissioners for your confidence in allowing us to be part of the CDBG Citizens Participation process and granting us the opportunity to make this recommendation. We take great pride in serving the City of McAllen. Please note that the final approval for this budget is tentatively scheduled for Monday, July 10th. If you have any questions about our recommendations, we would be glad to respond.
Thank you so much. And on behalf of the commission, thank you all for all you do. I mean,
Yes.
you really help us out. So.
Thank you.
Okay, and this is a public hearing. Do we have anybody to speak on the items? For, against, changes, anything?
I always want more money, but now y'all do a great deal. Thank you for
Thank
everything
you.
do.
Thank you for all you do.
Okay. Oh, there's no action on this one. Thank you all so much. And I guess we'll close the public hearing. That's the end of the public hearing. So we have item number 2, consent agenda, items A through K. Do we need to pull anything out?
Just 2I, please.
Which one?
I.
Okay,
Project
anything
status.
else? If not, do I hear a motion to approve items A through K minus I?
So moved.
Do I hear a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? The motion carries. Item I, that's a status report.
Yeah, in particular, I was wondering about the Daffodil construction project and the Harvey Bridge. Harvey Bridge is supposed to be ready next month. I just wanted to verify that.
And actually, I was very happy to see a lot of the projects completed, so.
Yes, sir. We've been working hard and staying up to date with our contractors, making sure that they're doing their best to meet the timeline. We did have some rain in May. Harvey still is on schedule. We've talked to the contractor. We get updates at least bi-weekly. we're looking for July on that opening up before school starts. That's the promise they've given them, and we're very close to that. On Daffodil, we did put an update. We are looking at segment 1 in August, which is Benson to Ware Road. And then the next segment between Benson and Taylor, we're looking at October of 2023. We continue to work with the contractor. We've had utilities move sooner on the first segment, and that's why that'll be closing up sooner. And we continue pushing on the next segment. We had a little trouble with right-of-way. We have cleared a majority of that, and we feel that we can get there by October.
Great. Just to add, Taylor Road, everything's still going smoothly on that project?
So we keep working with LNG. They're the contractors that Mission is contracted with.
Yeah.
They are moving at a lot faster pace on acquiring right-of-way. So they look like they're on pace to get that bid out as per what we've put in this document. But we get at least monthly updates from them on right-of-way. In fact, there's some right-of-way that we have to turn over to them. And they're doing a way better job of getting that right-of-way purchase to keep that project on schedule, the second phase.
Okay. Sounds good.
Any other questions?
Appreciate it.
No. Thank you so much. We go to item 3.
3A is award of contract for the purchase of 18 traffic signal cabinets.
Do you have any questions on the item?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Item B.
B is a contract for the bus terminal mechanical upgrades.
Mayor and Commission, as part of the energy efficiency study, the bus terminal mechanical system was selected for upgrades. These upgrades consist of the conversion of 2 existing air handlers, 1 chiller water pump. The conversion will require replacing the fans, motors, and motor starters for a new inverter duty fan motors driven by variable speed drives. The design will include, in addition, 5 chilled water and 5 hot water valves will be replaced. DBR and engineering staff recommend award of the contract to the responsible bidder, Climatech of Austin, Texas, for the total base bid in the amount of $85,000, work to be completed in 120 calendar days, and we open it up for any questions.
Questions, comments?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excuse me, against? Motion carries. Item C.
C is award of contract for the perimeter fence repairs at Champion Lakes Golf Course.
Mayor and Commission, we're presenting this. Staff seeks formal authorization to award the contract for emergency fence repairs at Champion Lake Golf Course due
Why is
to
it
that.
an emergency? It was during the hurricane.
So we had a hurricane. We've moved forward, but this item is over 50,000 and needs formal approval through City Commission. It's approximately 300 feet of fence, 3 gates, and staff recommends award to Excellent Fence of Mission, Texas. In the
Any
amount of
questions?
Oh. That was that green one, right? The green one on the front gate, and then the front fence and the 3 gates have been damaged, and we need to secure that area. There
Yeah,
was
to the wind.
a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Item D, Caliche. Is that the lowest bid?
Yes, sir. Motion to approve.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Item E.
E is
Thank
award of
you.
contract to the buy board, Mayor, that should have been also in.
That's, should have been in consent.
Yeah.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Item F.
F is change order number 2 for the terminal roof replacement at the airport.
Good or bad?
Good.
Okay.
Mayor, Commissioners, good afternoon. Staff recommends approval of change order number 2 in the amount of $25,840.74 from the contingency allowance, with the total contract remaining at $2,075,245 and additional 15 days for a revised contract time of 285 calendar days.
Questions?
Gotta be done.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Item G.
G is approval of a general aviation lease with VHG Acquisitions at the airport.
Staff recommends approval of a general aviation lease with VHG Acquisitions LLC. It's a general aviation lease of base year of 20 years with 2 5-year options. They'll be developing a 20,000 square foot hangar at the tail end adjacent to Old South 10th Street, about a $4 million investment. Consists of about 20,000 square feet of ground area, 10,800 square feet of ramp area, and about 5,500 square feet of parking area.
Questions?
This is the last area that can be developed into an hangar?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And a hangar there is sort of the long-term plan, right? It's not ever going to conflict with the future growth of the airport?
Correct. That's the general aviation side. It's just the tail end. It's capping that whole development along 10th Street. Yes, sir.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item 4.
4A is consideration of possible approval of amendment to the zoning ordinance related to carport special exceptions.
Okay, the current zoning ordinance has setback requirements which does not allow for structures to be built into that setback area. However, the zoning ordinance under section 138-371 does allow the zoning board of adjustments to approve special exceptions to carports to be in the front setback areas. The board could consider the potential size of the structure itself, but there is currently no limit to the size of the carport that would be considered. Some of the carports that have been proposed have been quite large compared to the existing residents of the property and does affect the uniformity of the neighborhood. The ordinance committee did review the situation and are recommending approval of an amendment to the change of the ordinance that would limit the carports to no more than 400 square feet. That would accommodate for 2 vehicles within the driveway area. The request was considered by the Planning Commission at the meeting of June 20th, and they voted to recommend approval of the ordinance with 6 members present and voting.
Well, I mean, this is, believe it or not, an important decision because there is conflicts just all over the place, and so this was a start to alleviate some of the conflicts, right, that exist, and future to build.
Correct.
But most of the requests generally are going to be from the older neighborhoods.
You do find them in the general older neighborhoods, but you're finding them also into some of the newer areas that are proposed to build closed carports.
But the setback in front.
The carport in the front, they could apply also to the rear setback should they have access from the alley.
Yeah, but in the front, what would be the
The
setback?
current setback under the ordinance is 25 feet. Some of the older subdivisions had 20, 30, 40, depending on the time of development.
So what is it today? What would it be with this ordinance?
The ordinance setback to be 25 feet.
So it'll stay at 25?
Correct. That is the required front setback for a new development.
Good.
These carports under the special exception would be into that. Some of them are at 0, some are at 5 feet, proposed setbacks instead of the requirements. But there is no limit on the size. This ordinance would cap the size at 400 square feet.
Right.
And that's not attaching the carport to the building.
More than likely, the type of constructions, they generally do not connect them to the buildings.
And what about, the existing, if something has been there for more than 10 years, and they have to come in still and get a variance, right?
Correct, but normally they do is if there is a situation that is seen or a complaint received, they will verify to see if there was any building permits on file for that improvement.
Yeah, I know.
And if not, if there was a variance also granted. If not, then they would pursue speaking with the applicant to come in and apply for a variance.
Yeah, the whole process is still very cumbersome. And I really would like for it to be looked at and try to make it as easy as possible to do that, because in many cases there are existing homes that are bought that way and or transferred, and there is a fee to do this. They have to come in, they have to go and go to the Board of Variances, and they've got to do a lot of.
You're talking about looking more into this ordinance and.
Yeah, well, not this particular ordinance. I mean, this particular ordinance right here is setting what, this is a new carport being built.
Correct.
Yes, okay. I'm talking about existing, and it's just very cumbersome for somebody to come and do the whole process, and they're blue-collar working people. And, all these meetings are at 2 o'clock and at 4 o'clock, and then.
But shouldn't it be in this ordinance that we address it if there's exceptions and what we're looking at, depending on when it was done, where?
Yeah, but that's another discussion. But this is an area where we get a ton of complaints.
Oh, you do? That's what I'm saying.
And so, I mean, making it more accessible, I think, would be going the other way around. There's a lot of people that we get the complaints where a neighbor has just built a carport over the weekend, or and so I think the current process is it's, you know, we got to make it so that anybody that wants a carport needs to go through that formal process, because if not, I mean.
No. This is for a new project. I'm talking an existing that's been there for 20 years, 30 years, 50 years.
Well, even them too. I mean, it's just.
Well, I know what. Again, I'm very. We do get tremendous amount of calls.
Yeah. And I'm with Tony too. Exactly. We get calls. I mean, it's always a carport, and they show the green paper that they got to show up to court, and it's just. I know we understand a lot of them don't get permits, and that's when the problems come. But I think if maybe, like Tony says, if we can do something, you know, sometimes we got to try to help them out too.
Yeah, I think that the process is extremely not flexible and I'm not saying, well, not flexible and not, you know, you just can't make a 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock
We
meeting.
go to the same issue. Is that addressed in this ordinance?
Not in
Or
this.
we're looking at something else?
No, this is for new construction.
So
Yeah,
this
this
is
is
just for
different.
new construction?
Motion to
for
approve this
exception?
one.
Yeah.
I'll second the motion.
All in
Both on the
favor?
committee.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries, and for future agenda items, maybe that's what we can do.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Because
It's always good to
we
listen.
do get a lot of calls. Okay, we have immigration respite report.
Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, immigrant drop-off numbers from CBP and ICE remain relatively low, although we continue to be told that those numbers could increase soon. 2 weeks ago, we had 1,774 drop-offs, 0.6% COVID positivity rate. And this last week, we had 1,771 with a 0.2% COVID positivity rate. So over the last few weeks, our numbers continue around the 150 to 250 per day range. We currently have less than 100 in Ansel Duas Park. Ansel Duas Park does remain open since early May. We do have additional capacity if needed in the park. And then I will also note that Hidalgo County has advised us that at present they are planning to keep the remainder of the park closed. And I wanted to correct that because I mentioned something different 2 weeks ago. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Nope. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Future agenda items, I guess one of them is that regarding the issue in the carports.
Yeah.
Streamline.
What else do we have? Anybody else?
Oh, at some point, can we get an update on the streetlights program where we're going out and trying to attack it from different points of
I
the
know we
city?
were doing real well in District 4. I don't know how we're doing, but usually that's our area where we affects us more with the
We
lights.
still have a lighting problem on 10th Street from Doug to Trenton. It's just too dark.
Correct.
You're right.
Vamos a empezar de south to north. Let's go south to north.
Yeah.
Sí, desde viejito a lo nuevo.
I'm just trying to skip the middle here.
We cover everybody. So, okay, let's see, any items on executive session, Counselor? What do we have?
Mayor, with respect to item 6A, I recommend the City Commission authorize City Manager and City Attorney to allocate the funds from the sale of the property in the manner described in executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
Mayor, City Commission, with respect to item 6B, I recommend the City Commission consider a motion authorizing the City Manager and City Attorney to continue negotiating in the collective bargaining process with the Police Department in the manner described in executive session.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
Mayor, City Commission, with respect to item 6C, I recommend the City Commission consider a motion authorizing the inclusion of certain rules in documents distributed by the city secretary's office.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Against? Motion carries. Next item.
Mayor, Commissioners, with respect to item 61, I recommend the City Commission consider a motion authorizing city manager and city attorney to negotiate a contract for the economic development matters described in executive session.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
Mayor, Commissioners, with respect to item 62, I recommend that the City Commission consider a motion authorizing the city manager to engage in final negotiations to pursue contract for economic development incentives, including a contract for the construction of the Center for Urban Ecology.
What's approved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. That's all we have, Counselor?
Mayor, I'm out of agenda items.
Okay, there being no further business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Regular City Commission meetings are held on the second and fourth Monday of each month. Meetings are rebroadcast on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays on the McAllen Cable Network.
Sectors in this particular area near downtown. This is an area of McAllen that we have identified as an area of potential need, and so we're taking the time, not just the McAllen Fire Department, but other organizations, McAllen PD or local paramedics, of course the American Red Cross. They're here to help us go door to door, making sure that everybody has a good working smoke alarm, and if they don't have one, we're here to install them for them.
The smoke alarms were installed by volunteers